So like what we say right now is live, is that what you mean? Oh.
Stream. Welcome to another virtual edition of Twos in Training. I'm Jamie McDonald, and tonight we'll be talking to trainer Casie Coleman Hurley about her 16 consecutive years at earning more than $1 million in purses. We'll also be chatting about her top 2-year-olds and her thoughts on McWicked's induction into the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame. Thank you to our sponsors Blue Chip Farms and Winback Farms of Ontario, the current home of McWicked.
Winback Farm of Ontario is proud to welcome 4 exciting new stallions for 2020. Jimmy Freight's a 2018 O'Brien Award winner and the winner of the Dayton Pacing Derby and Mohawk Gold Cup. McWicked's a 2018 Horse of the Year in US and Canada, the richest pacing stallion in harness racing history. Stag Party's a 2018 O'Brien Award winner and the winner of the Metro Pace. And The Bank, son of 2 millionaires, Donato Hanover and Lantern Chronos, and a Breeders' Crown and Stanley Dancer champion. For more information, visit winbackfarm.com. That's winbackfarm.com.
Welcome to our virtual edition of Twos in Training, Casie. Thanks for joining us here this evening.
Thanks for having me on.
You've had a great career so far in the harness racing industry. You've earned over $63 million in purse earnings, which is amazing to look at. You've been a 5-time O'Brien Award winner for Canadian Trainer of the Year. Kind of looking over your stats and kind of remembering your career over the years, what memories kind of pop up to the top of your head?
It's been outstanding. Like, I don't even know really where to start. Right from the time my first claim in Ontario was Keep Her Flying, right from her all the way up to first North American Cup with Sports Writer, Better Than Cheddar, Betting Line, like the list. We've had some unbelievable champions that we've been blessed with in the barn. So yeah, it's been a good run.
Absolutely. And moving on to today, how has, the COVID-19 and the pandemic, you're down in Florida, I know it's delayed your, return back up to Ontario. How has, it drastically changed anything for you or just kind of prolonged your warmer weather?
As far as the training, really, it's changed a lot, yeah, but yes and no. So we have, I got 21 horses down here. Well, I just sent some home. Right now there's 16. But anyways, the majority are all babies, and their schedule really hasn't been affected. They're on the exact same schedule they always would be on. The 3-year-olds, I only have 3 3-year-olds, and I've definitely had to change up a lot with the way I was prepping them. A couple of them are unraced 3-year-olds, so I was actually going to race them early and race in Pompano a little bit this winter, which I've never done before, and really changed that up a lot. But we get up in the morning, go to the barn, finish up at the barn, and then that's when it changes. Usually we have a lot to do down here. Go to the beach, go for dinner. There's always friends and owners down, go out for dinner, go to a casino. That's probably a good thing for me. I'm probably saving a lot of money not going to the casino right now. It's probably helping me. But yes, now when we're done work, we just come home and hang out here. It's sunny though. We got a pool. It's sunny, good weather. We're cooking at home a lot. It's a whole lot different, but it's not terrible. It's not horrible being under house arrest in Florida.
Yeah, there could be worse places, right? We're just starting to hit, the double digits in that 20 degrees this weekend. So I'm sure you've had that for quite some time now. So we're a little jealous of your weather down there.
Yeah, it's been the weather's been unbelievable this year. It's actually probably the best winter yet. We've had very little rain. I can't think of even a single day that we missed a rain day. I actually don't think we've had one. Weather's been unbelievably nice. Shorts every day. Don't even need a sweater in the morning, and it's been awesome. But we're definitely. I hope we're racing soon. And as soon as they say, "Hey, we're racing at Mohawk," I'm loading up and I'm heading home. So hopefully you guys can warm it up down there.
Yeah, I'm hoping for that too. And speaking of racing and hopefully getting back soon, what are your biggest concerns of this race year? Especially this summer, you are in a lot of stake races. Anything that concerns or any concerns that pop up to the top of your head?
Where do you start? The concerns are unlimited, basically. First off, we just got to get racing. Hope. I think once the first track opens, everybody's going to sit back and watch for 2 weeks and make sure no one's getting sick, that it's going right. And I think after one track opens and everybody sees it's hopefully going good, everybody's practicing social distancing, doing it without fans. I think everywhere will start opening up. I'm hoping. I'm scared that tracks like New York. I only have 2 New York breds, but New York and PA, I have a lot of PA breds. I'm scared that they rely on the casinos a lot, and that possibly that they're going to be longer before they open, needing the casinos to open first. Mohawk, I think, will be okay. Meadowlands will be okay. Nobody knows what's going to happen. And besides that, right now, like when I go home, I have to self-quarantine for 14 days,
Yeah.
not only me, but my staff too. So I'm just looking at how hard it's going to be just getting home, missing staff and myself for 14 days, let alone say I'm going to ship a horse wherever, to a Little Brown Jug, to Lexington, right to the Meadowlands, the PA Sire Stakes. Can I go? Can my help go? Do we got a quarantine to go? Can I ship a driver? Can I ship an American driver to Canada? Can I ship a Canadian driver to America? Like, I don't know what's going to happen with all that. So that's a big concern. But number one, I guess, is let's just get those tracks open, get racing, and play it day by day.
Yeah, I believe Red Shores in Charlottetown today announced that they're going to start racing with no fans on June 4th. So that's on the east coast of Canada. So it's hopefully going to trickle over to Ontario here and down into the States. But that's a little bit of good news here in the north of the border about a little bit of racing anyways.
Yeah, I did read that, and I shared it on my Facebook when I seen that, and that's great news to get a track going. And like I say, the no fans things is going to be weird, like you say, down that way. Like say the Gold Coast with no fans, and North American Cup no fans, Little Brown Jug no fans, Hambo. I can't imagine. It's going to be a whole different world this summer that we got to get used to.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely going to be a little strange with the empty winter circles and just along the rail as well. The atmosphere will be different, but it's all for the best, and hopefully we'll get back to normal soon. But talking about racing and getting him into it, let's talk about, how many horses you had. You said you had 21 down in Florida and you shipped a few back, so you have 16 left with you?
Yeah, I got 16 here right now. 3 of them are 3-year-olds, and then we've got the rest there's 13 3-year-old or 2-year-olds, sorry. And I sent 5 2-year-olds down to Mark McKinnon, my assistant trainer in Canada. I sent them just a couple days ago, actually, and they're at Golden Horseshoe Lanes with him in Canada.
And talking about 2-year-olds, you have a long list of first crop betting line. Tell us about, obviously you trained the horse and he had a phenomenal record, and you've gone kind of full in. You have 9 of them for first crop, and tell us why you kind of went so deep with him.
Yeah, actually we got 10 of them. I ended up buying 10 betting lines total when we went to the sales, and I'm pretty sure this is the most babies I've bought ever. I can't remember buying this many yearlings, especially like last year I actually only bought 6. I ended up having 10 because I had 4 homebreds sent to me, but we only bought 6, and I was kind of cutting way back. And when it was betting lines first year, I really believe in him. Like I had a lot of great horses over the years, many that went to Stallion. We've been fortunate that way, but there's nobody I believed in more than betting line with his pedigree, his size, his looks, his conformation, his everything about him, his way he raced. Like that horse was just a winner. Like it didn't matter what happened in a race, that horse just found a way to win no matter what. And his lung capacity was just amazing. I never seen that horse blow out a match after any race he ever went. He'd just stand there and look at you like, is that all you got? So I just, I believed in him. When he went to Hanover Shoe to stand stud, when we had many offers to stand him, and Hanover Shoe, as soon as they were on the plate, I remember telling my partners, Steve Calhoun, Ross Warner, Mac Nickel, I said, game over. We're going to Hanover. She said they're interested because I'm looking at the long term. I'm looking at the mares he's going to get and the support he's going to get. And that book of mares he got was just phenomenal. It was just crazy how well he got supported, and I really appreciate it from everybody that was buying breedings and Hanover Shoe, the job they did on his book. Every year he's been full so far. And so I went to the sales and I told my owners, I said, I'm buying pretty much just betting lines. I was like, my main goal is betting lines, and that's what we did. And we came home we wanted many more too. We came home with 10, and I can't, there was many of them that we were high underbidders. There was 2 in Lexington. Actually both went to Ronnie Burke. One was for $230,000 at Philly. One was for $200,000. And I heard that the Colt is going very good of Ronnie Burke's. And then Tony Alonge here, he got a bunch of them. He outbid me many times on his betting lines, and they look fantastic out on the track. So let's say we got 10, and I wanted much more than that, but he can only spend so much money trying to get them.
Of course. Let's get right into them. The first one that we'll talk about is Dean B. Hanover. Got at Harrisburg for $340,000, betting line out of Delhi Beach.
Yeah, that was the expensive kid, obviously. And he was the one. right from the time this horse was a baby, Dr. J was sending me pictures of him and telling me how much he thought I was going to like him. And I had an owner named Libiakis. He called me as soon as the videos came out online. He called me up and he said, "Listen, I'm buying this colt," and he was just in love with him. And that's before I'd even seen him yet. Went out to the farm, and I actually went back 3 times to Hanover Shoe Farms to keep looking this colt over for John, because we knew he was going to be big money. Vetted him out long in advance at the farm, and liked everything about the colt. So I've never spent that much money for a horse. I've never come even close to spending that much money for a horse, and I didn't think he was going to take that much to buy, but it was a good thing we had that many bullets lined up, because we needed that much to get him. And he's just been, now starting, he definitely, like, he's always been good. He's doing everything right, but starting, he definitely didn't look like he's going to be one of my best colts. Like, I've got some really nice colts down here, and he's kind of a little worrisome, thinking, man, the $340,000 one, he's a nice colt, but these other couples can maybe beat him. Saying that, the last few, this last, say, month or something, it seems like the faster we're going, the better he's getting, and he's just like a Mack truck. He can't stop, but like when he starts going, he just, there's no end to him. And I started training some 1.5 miles lately, which is new for me. I don't usually do that, and he absolutely loves it. And it's really, he's training just fantastic. I could not be any happier the way that colt's going right now, and he looks worth the 340, that's for sure right now.
That's really great to hear, especially when you're a little bit unsure at the beginning. So it's great that he's really filled in some of those gaps that you thought he might have.
Yeah, 100%. Like I say, I got to make sure I win some big dances and look down the road to possible stud duty to get back that money. But right now, I'm extremely happy with that colt.
What about West Coast Kid? You got at Lexington for $65,000. This is a better than Cheddar.
Yeah, West Coast Kid, he's from day one, he was actually my favorite one. Right from day one, I said, this is the one. Like, I just loved him. Very athletic, very fast, just push button horse. Like, from the time we're going 3-minute miles, this colt ready to put behind the gate and go with him. He's just a fantastic athlete and very nice animal. He's OSS, so I love that program. Another one out of my own stud, being better than Cheddar. His last time he trained, he actually, and I do videos all the time. People can see my Facebook Live, so I don't hide nothing. And he actually was a little bit flat on me the last time we went. Usually he's right there, and he's just awesome. And he was a little bit flat his last time he went, but he was a touch sick. So I'm sure that was just it, and he'll bounce back right quick. And he still went what we wanted him to go, but he's usually, whatever we ask him, he just does it so easy. And he actually was just a little bit flat his last training, but I'm pretty sure he'll rebound just fine this week.
And moving on to your third one, back to the betting line, sire. Lexington, $62,000, amazing bet.
Yeah, amazing. He's one that I'm going to put, like, between him and Dean. We got some nice colts, but as far as the betting lines and that, he was my number 1 betting line, and I'm now kind of going to change it a little bit back to Dean. But this colt, and you guys have seen the video here, I don't know if you're going to see the bad part or not. If I didn't go to the farm and I only watched this colt off video, I would have never bought him off his video. This colt had the world's worst video. If you see when they do the head-on going down the hill, he's winging both front, and here it comes here, so you can see him wing it. And to me, that's a throw out. When I see that video, I was like, it was terrible to me. And anyways, I seen him live at the farm, loved his body, loved his pedigree, loved everything about him. I've got everything marked to buy this colt, and I basically wrote on my book, bring him home. I get to the sale, look him over, still love him. I then watched the video, and when I saw the video, I hated it, and I actually wrote the colt off. I said no. And I was bidding, he was night 3, I believe, at Lexington, and I was bidding on other colts, and I kept striking out the ones I talked about earlier, the 200 and 230, and we just couldn't get the ones I wanted. And so now I was going back to my B group, and he came back up, and I got him vetted out. He passed the vet, and I was so scared about that video. He's been fantastic. He's a very fast athlete. We call him 2.0 in the barn. He's like betting line. He's always on his hind legs. Betting line was very playful, always jumping up and leaping and biting, and not mean, but just, he's a lot of horse to handle. And amazing bet is just like him, and we all call him 2.0 in the barn just because he's so much like his daddy. He's gorgeous, and he's training phenomenal.
That's great to hear, especially, when so many people can't make it to those farms, and to just rely on the video to know that in person he was so much different makes a big difference on your purchase.
Oh, it definitely does. And I've always believed in going to the farms. And after him, well, he hasn't done anything yet. I hope if he does anything like I think he can do, I'm going to try my best to never miss a farm, which I pretty much don't nowadays. And saying that, it's not often I get to Spring Haven. They do a good job. They sell a lot of great colts, but just it's out in Ohio. I try to get there during jug week, but sometimes we get busy and I don't always get there. And honestly, if I had not seen that colt in the field and saw how he was perfect in the field when I watched him, and if I just went off him and then the video, I would have never bid on that colt. And the way he's going right now, he's a really, really nice colt.
Oh, that's good to know. And let's move on to the fourth one on the list here, Beachhead. You got for $225,000 at Lexington, a some beach somewhere.
Yeah, Beachhead's been fantastic also. He's a big colt like Dean. Dean's also a big colt, and anybody that knows me knows I don't usually buy a big colt. I'm usually more of a medium-sized, even smaller colts. I'm not one that goes for the bigger animal for whatever reason. It's just it can be harder to keep them sound and everything like that because they're big, and everyone wants to race at 2 and not wait on them till 3, so that's always a little bit of an issue. When I saw this colt, well, he was Sports Writer's brother. He is Sports Writer's brother, so obviously I was going to be very interested just because of that before I seen him. Some Beach Somewhere is obviously an amazing sire. He's the top sire in the world pretty much ever. I've had no luck with him personally. I don't know what it is, but I just I picked the wrong ones with Some Beach. I'm one that Better the Lights are golden for me, and Some Beaches are just been a disaster for me. Saying that, the ones that I've picked have had, I don't know what, they've had bad attitudes and I've had to geld them, and I've not had good luck with them. This colt, so much like Sports Writer, perfect attitude, ears are always up. He just wants to please you. Everything he does, he wants to please you. You wouldn't know he's a stud, just like he's so much like Sports Writer, it's just unbelievable. Like just his attitude and his manners and everything about him. His gait is just flawless, and he's an extremely exciting animal. I'm very, very excited about him, and couldn't be any happier with that colt the way he's going right now.
Now, with your past experience with the Some Beach Somewheres, would you say the family connection obviously was the reason you took another shot this year, or last fall, on this yearling?
100%. If he wasn't Sports Writer's brother, and Sports Writer's family is Tall Dark Stranger's family, who was obviously the top colt last year, and it's a great family. Jim Averett does an unbelievable job raising a colt, and this colt is you would think that he's a 5-year-old getting ready for an open race the way he acts. He's just so smart, so good gated, so easy on himself. I'm always kind of careful with him because of how big he is. Same with Dean, because he's so big. I'm kind of extra cautious with them, just always thinking, oh man, watch his knees, watch his hocks, watch everything about him. But he's light on his feet, and he's a pure athlete. And so far, soundness hasn't been an issue, and been just very, very pleased with him. But definitely, if he wasn't related to Sports Writer, I just wasn't looking for Beaches, just because I've had no luck with them, and they're very expensive to buy them.
Well, hopefully this one can turn that around for you, and the streak will end this summer. But moving on to Line Drive Hanover, $75,000 at Harrisburg, betting line, of course.
This is a colt that's done a complete 360. I loved him at the sale. We bought him. We knew when we vetted him out, we knew that he had a piece of a splint bone chipped and he needed a surgery. So we knew that before we bought him. We did the surgery, got it done, and he started out kind of my weaker sets. I had him. He was just he's very, very colty, very, very playful. I thought I was going to have to geld him. I already warned the owners that I might need to geld him just because he doesn't pay attention and whatever. And he just was very immature early. He's literally in my top set right now. I kept moving him up another. He went from like set 5 or 6 to up, and he's literally in set 1 right now. And he's just he could. When you ask me what my top colt is right now, it's so tough. Like I've been in 212 with everything. We're still in the joggers. We've all been in 212. We're ready next week, probably to go to race bikes next week, and every one of them's doing it strong at the wire. But let's say this colt's just showing me those extra flashes of a good horse right now, and he's a playful in the barn. Like Evelyn Harms takes care of him, and he's very, very playful. And I told her, I don't want to geld this colt. Like he's very well bred. And he's very, very fast, and I know he's a handful, but you need to deal with him best you can, because I do not want to geld him. And she's like, no, she's been great with them. She's like, no problem. I don't want you to geld him either. And she does a really good job. keeping his manners intact. And I say he is not mean, but he's a stud, and he's a pretty big colt. So you got to be careful with them. But he's done a complete 360. Literally went from my least set to my top set in just the last few months, and he's been fantastic.
Now, you had mentioned that you already knew ahead of time that he would have to get a chip removed. Does that affect your decision on purchasing a yearling when you already know they may have a surgery or will need a surgery before you even buy them?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, and basically, I pretty much vet out everything now before I buy them. I just, it's something I like to do. I don't buy a lot of well, I bought a lot last year, I guess. I don't usually buy a lot of horses. And we do vet out a lot. I'm going to estimate just under 100. We probably vetted out. And I believe in it. And I don't care if it's just OCDs, if it's just simple OCD surgeries. Him was a piece of a broken splint bone. Simple things like that. Obviously, you'd rather because you miss time and you got to pay for the surgery, and there's sometimes complications with surgery. So you would prefer not to have it. But saying that, if I see just simple chips and little flakes here and there that need to come out, really not a big deal. It's still a pass for me, and I'll still bid on that colt, and I'll bid just as strong as it's not like I factor in, hey, he needs a few weeks off and he needs surgery. I don't factor that in on the price. But there are horses that I take right off my list. 100%. There's horses that I say no and take them right off my list because I did not like the vet out results at all. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. I'll keep doing it. I like it. I mentioned to you earlier tonight, there's a great horse, Captain Treacherous. I mentioned to you earlier tonight. He did pass the vet for us. I can't remember what it was, but my vet wasn't happy with it, and we said no. And there's Captain Treacherous. So it's not a for sure thing, but I like it. It helps me a lot.
Yeah. How about Extrella Hanover, Harrisburg, $55,000 out of Easy Rock?
Yeah, she's been, and on this one, I actually gave you the wrong picture on that one. That's probably my bad. That's actually, that is Arthaliah Hanover we're looking at right now, but that's my bad. I think I probably messed that up with Curtis. So because I messed it up, would you like me to talk about Extrella or Arthaliah? Well, that's Extrelia's video. So
yeah, we'll do Extrella first.
But no problem. She's unbelievably talented. And this filly, I got a colt in the barn named Examiner Hanover. That's a 3-year-old, and he's a he's watching colt. And I'm just not looking for a he's watching. But last year, Brad bought him, and he asked me to train him. And Brad's a great owner, and I'm going to tell him yes to whatever he'd give me the chance to train. So we took him, and I hated that horse early. We had a lot of issues with him. He ended up being my best 2-year-old last year. I didn't have a good year last year, but he was my best 2-year-old. And when this filly came, and she's out of Betting Line, who I love as a sire, and just her size, her conformation, the look of her, everything about her, I absolutely loved her at the farm. I loved everything about her. And when I bought her, I was fully expecting to pay a whole lot more money for her. Saying that, I don't feel bad if Hanover's watching this. I paid lots of money for a lot of other ones, way more than I should have probably. This filly, I felt that I got her for a lot cheaper than I was going to have to pay. So it all evens out. But anyways, she's very, very special, this filly. I've had a lot of nice fillies, like horses like I do, that's Pretty Catherine and Chancy Lady. I rate her right up there right now. Like she's showed me all kinds of flashes of speed and talent and very smart. She's very, very, she's definitely my best filly. She's very, very nice.
And moving on to Indra Hanover, you got Harrisburg, $65,000, betting line out of Ideal Newton.
Yeah, Indra also training great. She's another one that's at Hanover. I just loved her. She's one of the only betting lines that doesn't have really any white on her. She's almost black. She's pretty much black, and she doesn't really have any white on her at all, which isn't normal for a betting line. Most of them got quite a bit of white on them. But she's also been just awesome. I've been just thrilled with the way this filly's training. Now, I don't believe that she can go with Extrella, because I think Extrella just has that 4th, 5th, and 6th gear when you ask her for it. Like, I swear she could go with my Colts, the other filly. Indra, though, she's been, like I say, she is a nice filly. Very good manners, awesome attitude, very good manners, and just another one that just wants to please you, like a lot of the betting lines. All the betting lines, they want to please you. They do their job, and they know that they need to get their job done for you, and they all want to please you, and she's another one that's just like that. So I've been very excited to start racing her.
That's great to hear. And how about we move back to Arthaliah, Hanover, Harrisburg, $65,000.
Yeah, Arthaliah, she's one, actually, me and my assistant trainer, Ray, we were having a little debate. Ray thinks this is my best filly. He likes her a lot, and he thinks this is my best filly. I like her. She's very, very nice. What I'm concerned about with her is she's extremely fast. She has an unbelievable gait, but what concerns me with her, and I was just saying how the betting lines have great attitudes, and they do, saying that this filly, she gets a little bit bitchy every once in a while. I don't know if I can say that on here or not, but she gets Philly syndrome a little bit, I guess I'll put it. And when she's in a good mood, like right there, that's today after training her, and she's got her ears forward there. Well, my groom Frenchie's putting her away, and so obviously she's happy after. That's the fastest she's been today in 2:12. But when she's got her game face on and she's in a good mood, she trains phenomenal. If she's having a bad day, she's not nice that day. She don't train so good when she's having a bad day. But lately, for about the last 6 to 8 weeks, she hasn't had any of those bad days. She did them early on where she was doing it, and lately she's been awesome. And I was saying who I thought our best colts and fillies were, and I had Arthaliah at the bottom. We only have 4 fillies. I had Arthaliah at the bottom, and Ray came to tell me, he's like, "You made a mistake there. I think that she's the best one." So we'll see.
Hopefully your attitude continues on the good wave, and getting all that the moodiness out early is better, especially when they start racing hopefully soon this summer.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's move on to your Captain Treacherous. You got at Harrisburg $50,000, Captain of Rock and Roll.
Yeah, this colt, he was actually, I kind of call him a homebred just because Bob Hamather bred him, and he bought him back in the sale. He ended up telling me, I was out at Dr. Egloff's farm and was looking at all of his colts and seen this colt, and Bob asked me what I thought of him, and I loved him. He's gorgeous. He's got a perfect body on him, perfect conformation, bred very well. I've never had a baby captain before. I got 2 this year, and this is the first one. That's, let's say, he's training fantastic. I couldn't be any happier with him. He's another one that went from kind of my B groups. He wasn't in the top sets that really moved up high, and he's been getting better and better and better the more we go with him. And he's also another one that it seems like ever since I asked Bob Hamather about gelding him, I'm going to say it's about 5 or 6 weeks ago, I told him this colt just isn't paying attention. He's not doing things the way I'd like him to. I'd like to geld him. And Bob was good. He gave me the green light. He said, if you think you need to geld him, go ahead. Ever since I've told Bob that, I don't know what it is, but this horse has done a 360. His mind's all business. He's training phenomenal. He's not acting too studdy no more, and his manners are perfect right now, and he's training very, very good. And let's say it's first time that we were able to afford a captain, because they're very, very expensive to buy them, and they should be the way that they're producing out there. The other captain we bought this year he's not one of the ones I told you to talk about just because I have turned him out. The only one I've turned out, but his name's I'm trying to remember his name right now. Captain Crunch's brother. Captain Fireball's his name, sorry. And he was in like 217. He got bone bruising. We actually had to turn him out, but he's also a very fast colt, and he's a full brother to Captain Crunch, and probably one of the best bred I had in the barn, and we paid pretty good money for him, but we had to kick him out and wait till next year.
Yeah, hopefully he'll come around and heal up this summer and get nice and big and strong for his 3-year-old year. And let's move on to your last 2-year-old that we're going to talk about today, Amy Hanover, Harrisburg, $100,000, another betting line out of All American Coed.
Yeah, I don't know whether we pronounce it Amy or Ami or how to pronounce it exactly. It's in French, but he actually just trained this morning, the best he's ever trained yet. He's been really, really stepping it up lately. I didn't think he's not in the same league as, say, like Dean B and Amazing Bet and Beachhead and colts like that. Saying that this morning, he trained really, really good this morning. He kind of made me take a double take at him, and he's another one that it seems like the quicker we're going, the more he's paying attention, the more he's focusing. He's another one he's pretty steady. He's not to the point that I think we need to geld him. But he just, ever since we're asking him to, hey, it's game time a little bit, let's step on the pedal a little more, he's just really, really focusing. And I was kind of shocked how good he trained this morning, actually. I was very, very impressed with him. So we'll see what he has to do once it's go time. But he's really turned, he was never training bad, but he just really stepped it up these last few weeks.
Absolutely. So now that we've wrapped up the 2-year-olds of a few that you have, let's move on to a 3-year-old, an unraced 3-year-old named Indictable Hanover. Can you tell us about this one?
Yeah, he's a colt that was my biggest heartbreaker last year. We had all the 2-year-olds. This colt training 58 as a 2-year-old as easy as I thought. He's one of the best 2-year-olds I've ever had, and we've had some nice 2-year-olds, and I couldn't be any more excited about this colt. And he's just been a bad luck horse. Like right from the day we bought him, he goes into the sale ring, and right before he went in, he hung his eye up. I forget how it happened, but he got his eye like on a water pail or something in the stall, and they literally Hanover shoe had to get it. He looked like he lost a round with Rocky Balboa or something going through the sale ring, and because of it, his price was much less than what it should have been. And I had problems with that eye. I had to do about 3 different surgeries on that eye, just having to do different things to it. We had issues with that a lot. And he's so playful. He hurts himself. He does dumb things. My husband Mark's always begging me to geld him. He says all the time, you gotta geld him. And he's that talented that I won't geld him because he's just, it's crazy how fast this colt is. I've been in 57 with him down here, as easy as you could train a colt. He went this morning 210 in a jog cart, and we come the last quarter in 30, and Ray went with him this morning. He said, I could have come 26 in the jog cart with this colt. He said, it's just stupid how fast he is. Last year, it was qualifying day. He was there at the qualifiers, warmed up his first trip perfect. In between his first and second trip, he kicked at the cement walls in the paddock, and he ended up, he was crippled. Went out for a second trip, and I was scared he broke something. He was crippled. Took him into the vets, couldn't find nothing. Took us a few weeks till we found out the problem was bone bruising, same as what I just told you, that Captain Fireball I got, bone bruising, hind ankle. And there's no other, you'd almost rather a broken bone than bone bruising because it takes a long time to heal. We had no choice. We had to turn him out, miss the whole season. And now we're training back, and he's training back phenomenal. He's sound. I got him paid in everything. I don't think I've ever carried a horse over. Well, I guess better than Feder, I carried over and paid into everything where he never raced it to. But he's in the Jug, Breeders' Crown, North American Cup, Lexington, you name it. And as long as he doesn't do anything dumb and hurt himself, this colt, he can absolutely fly. He's pretty talented.
Well, fingers crossed that he stays safe and healthy for you for his 3-year-old year, which could be very exciting for you. So that is someone, or one of them we'll definitely look forward to this summer.
Yeah, we got him wrapped up in a rubber room and bubble wrap right now, hoping that he doesn't stupid to us.
Absolutely. Some of them need that, those rubber mats on the walls too. So let's rewind a little bit, way back to your West Coast days. So you started out in British Columbia. Can you tell us about, starting out out west there in Canada? And we have a video here from 2000.
Yeah, I started out there. Like I said, I was born and raised in British Columbia, obviously, and I want to be a driver. That's all I ever wanted to do, was be a driver. And my dad decided that he was moving up to Ontario. I can't remember what year it was. It was probably about 2000. That's Fastlane Cruise, and my dad's training right there. And the reason that we moved to Ontario was for her. She was so good. They were handicapping her the 8-hole against the boys, and you couldn't beat her. Nobody could beat her, and they ended up writing her out. They wouldn't race against her no more. We had no choice but to bring her to Ontario, and it was obviously a huge move for us. And I either had to stay home in Ontario or in BC and probably not have any drives anymore, not have a job no more, because my parents were about the only ones that used me to drive. They're the only ones crazy enough to put me in the bike again. And it was very last minute. I wasn't going. I told my dad the whole time, I'm not going, I'm staying here. And he was in BC. I was in Alberta with the horses. The truck was shipping through with Mary Austin to pick the horses up. It was very last minute. I packed my bags, I jumped on the truck, and I went. And when we first got there, everything couldn't have went any worse. Horses got sick, horses got claimed, horses broke down, like you name it, it happened. And everything was going bad. And I actually went looking for a job. I was trying to get a job, and I gotta say, it was Jeff Gillis. He hired me. Nobody would hire me. I tried everybody, and I could not get a job as a groom. And Jeff Gillis said he would hire me. I said, great. I said, my only stipulation, if possible, I said, can I leave by, I forget what time it was, Saturdays, but I need to leave early to get to Woodstock to drive my dad's horses. And he said no, and I didn't blame him. He said, you can't. I said, I'll come in early, I'll work Sundays, whatever. He said no, and I don't blame him. I probably would have said the same thing, being a boss. Anyways, that was like a blessing in disguise, because it was literally the next week. I'm at Flamborough backstretch working for my dad, and they said Billy Budd didn't show up for a new owner seminar, and they needed somebody to fill in. my parents told me to go. I didn't know why they'd want me to go up there, and I said, all right, so I went. And I filled in on a panel on a new owner seminar, and Merlin House about a week later calls me, and he says, I want you to claim me a horse. And I tried to explain to this fella, I said, I'm not a trainer. I said, I'm a driver, and I just groomed for my dad. I'm a driver. You're talking to the wrong person. And he kept telling me, I want you to be my trainer. I want you to train a horse. And that's how it all happened. And I claimed a horse for him, who was Keeper Flying, who I still have to this day, living out at a farm that we still pay for in Ontario. And it just all snowballed from there. And I kind of turned from a driver to a trainer kind of quickly.
So it happened definitely in the right direction for you over your career, the last, few decades in the industry. So always a positive turn when you go from something that you really want, which is a driver, but it worked out as a trainer.
Yeah, no doubt. And when I first started claiming with Merlin, I actually was driving the majority of them too, and we were doing good. We were doing really good. But a few different reasons I stopped driving. One, I realized that I'm not as good as I thought I was, and there was a lot of other drivers that were much better than me at that. And I did get in a bad wreck with one of my dad's horses at Mohawk, and the horse actually had to be put down on the track named Fastlane Phillips, and that did really shake me up. That I definitely lost my nerve after I was in that wreck and the horse got put down. And another thing is just my body, I have 22% skin grafts, and when it gets cold in those -20 winters, which we raced a lot of the winters back then with claimers, and when it gets cold, I literally can't feel my one arm and both my legs. And I just said, what am I doing this for? And I stopped driving and took up just training. And so far, so good.
And how about, speaking of, taking up training and going from one horse, you've had a huge stable, you've kind of slowed down a little bit or just gone back to a little bit more of a smaller stable. But how have your training techniques changed over the years?
I'd say most of the time I stayed pretty much the same because what I was doing worked for me. So right from the time I first started training, now saying that, like a claimer to a baby is completely different ball game, and a prep and a stake horse, completely different ball game. Last year I wasn't happy with my season. I had a bad year last year, and I was not happy at all with my season. So I've definitely changed things a lot this year. I've kind of changed things a whole lot the way that I train a horse, but basically I'm not one that likes to go fast. Like we jog 4 miles a day. Once they're 3-year-olds, 5 miles a day. I jog slow, very, very slow. I don't like going much speed on jog days, and they only get Sundays off. They go out every day except Sunday. And then I'm a 2-trip trainer. I don't like double headers, and I don't like 1 trip. I don't like double headers. So we're 2 trips a lot. And a lot of slow miles, not a whole lot of sprinting. I'm maybe a little bit behind in the speeds than other people just because that's the way that I like doing it. But I've just started this year with some 1.5 miles and quarters and keeping horses kind of parked the whole mile and doing a bunch of things differently that way. And that's kind of new this year that I'm changing things up that way a little bit.
And have you noticed a difference in, your 2-year-olds from last year versus this year with those little changes that you've made, in your training days, or is it hard to tell because they're completely different horses?
Yeah, I'm going to say it's hard to tell so far, and we won't know till they're racing, really, because nowadays these horses are bred so good. They're so athletic, bred so good. Like, in my mind, unless a horse gets hurt, it's almost impossible not to make the races with a horse. Like, when you have a baby, and if you can't get them there to qualify in time unless they hurt themselves, like, it's a really, really bad horse because they're just bred so well right now. It's pretty easy to get them there. It's just keep them sound, keep them healthy, keep their attitudes right, keep them wanting to do it. So yeah, we really won't know till we're racing, but a few of the things I noticed with the way I was doing things, I do start and finish together a lot all the time with my horses, and I found a few of them when we were coming with them, some of them were hanging late. They had more go, but they were hanging. So we're now letting different ones take turns where they blast past and open up by 4 or 5 lengths. I don't usually show the videos of those sets because there's always an owner. We're doing it on purpose, and you always get owners. Oh, why did my horse get beat? Why did this get? And we're doing it on purpose. And each horse gets their turn to do it. So I don't show the videos of those ones, but we've done that. And I'm not one that normally makes cut the whole mile. Usually, like every quarter, we move. And again, I had horses where they're hitting the front and they're trying to pull up on the driver. And so this year we've made them cut the whole miles a few times and got them all used to all those different things too, where it's just probably should have thought of sooner. But hopefully we've corrected a lot of the mistakes I've made and trying to have a better year this year with the way we've changed up the training program.
And you had mentioned, how the horses are bred now. You've produced a few stallions from horses that you've raced. Do you have any, favorites or any ones that you tend to lean towards? This year, obviously, it's your bedding line of first crop. In the past, have you had multiples or kind of lean towards a preferred stallion?
Yeah, I pretty much do stick to my stallions with the exception of Better's Delight. I almost count Better's Delight as like one of my own studs somehow. I don't even know how, just because I've had so many of them and I have 3 of them as stud now and done well with them. So I almost classify him as having something to do with them somehow. But so I stick to Better's Delights, my own stallions. I've had great luck with American Ideals. American Ideals first year I bought Idyllic for $13,000, and she did what she did. She probably made $1.5 million or something, I think. And I haven't had a lot of Better Than Cheddars just because there hasn't been a lot to pick from. Last year I didn't have any. The year before I had 3, and I didn't have much luck with them. Saying that, if anyone looks up Better Than Cheddar's numbers, he's done sensational. He's bred very low numbers of mares, not a whole lot in the sales to pick from, a lot of homebreds, not the best mares so far, and he's done sensational with the numbers he's had. I only have the one this year, West Coast Kid, who I think is a very talented colt. And hopefully Cheddar, because I think he had 200 mares booked last year. So hopefully he's going to start having some bigger books coming forward and have a bigger chance on the racetrack. Sports Writer, you can't say like Sports Writer. Like Jimmy Fright's now gone to stud. That's obviously his best son, and he's now at stud himself. And his horses are always 1-2 whenever you see the golds and all the sire stakes going. I wish he had more Grand Circuit champs, obviously. But in the Ontario Sire Stakes, he does a fantastic job, and they all make the races. They all make money. They all make the races. Then our new studs coming in, obviously, is Betting Line. I love them so far from what I see. And then we've got McWicked and Stag Party that are just breeding this year coming up, and hopefully we see good things from them in the years to come. But I'll definitely be buying some when they go to the sales.
And speaking of McWicked, he's going to be inducted into the Canadian Horse Racing Hall of Fame this year. And it was just a few months after he finished racing. So how big of a deal was it for you that he went into the Hall of Fame on this year's ballot?
Oh, that's pretty awesome. Like he definitely deserves it. I've never had any horse that's been into the Hall of Fame, so it's just an honor and a pleasure, and can't wait to go. It's going to be a cool experience. And like I say, it's probably because he raced till he's so old. Like we always pretty much called him I did call him our mascot. He's like the grandpa and the mascot in the barn. He raced till he was so old, so I guess that's why he got in. Like it seems like he got in early, but people were probably thinking of him for the last few years, thinking he could retire at any year and go to stud. But Ed James, he's a wealthy man and he loves the game, and he said I don't need the money, and he wants to keep racing his horse, so he kept racing him after year, and it was just a pleasure to race that horse. And it's sad going to see his empty stall this year. Like not going to be the same, that's for sure. Not him to race every Saturday night. That horse was just I don't know how to describe him. Every single time I came to the track, I thought I had a chance to win, and didn't matter if we had the 10 hole or if he was in. He never was in over his head. I was going to say if he's in over his head, but I can't think of one time entering that horse in a race that I said, hey, he doesn't have a chance tonight. He's in over his head. Like he knew you had a chance to win every single time, and racing that many years with that horse and to be on top of his game, he was an unbelievable athlete.
Absolutely. And speaking about, your stable and coming back up to Ontario, we talked a little bit about that earlier. How have you managed going from, one of a larger stable down to a more smaller scale stable? Do you like the smaller size better?
I love it, and I almost think that I got too many right now. At the highest, we got up to 130 horses. And last year when we were racing, I think at one point we only had about 6 to 8 horses. We didn't have very many at all last year. It was a pretty lax summer. I'm one that only keeps some of their top stake horses. So as soon as the horse isn't good enough, usually people are always like begging to keep horses. I'm kind of the opposite. As soon as I see that horse isn't a gold or a top horse, I'm calling or texting the owner saying, please find a new home for your horse. Like I only want them if they're top stake horses now, and I've been lucky enough through those stallions that I can do what I do and not have to have a barn full of the horses off of them. But I love having the smaller barn and just more focus on just the top stake horses, and I don't have no more claimers, no more overnight horses. I do like having that one aged horse. I'm going to miss having Wicked, but we only have 2 and 3 year olds, and wouldn't mind having another McWicked to race in those age paces. Those aren't easy. Those aren't easy to find. But I actually was talking to a friend of mine today, saying how I'm going to cut weight. I think I was talking to Dan Legacy, and I told him 4. I said next winter I want 4 horses, and he was telling me there's no way I'll do that. And I guess we'll see how my summer goes, and we'll decide how many horses for next year.
Absolutely. I feel like everyone I talk to goes to the sales in the fall and, I'm only going to buy a handful and end up, add a 0 on the end of whatever number that they say they're going to get. And everyone always comes home with more, it seems like.
Yeah, that definitely happens. And I like to get at least 1 or 2 of each one of my studs, and going to be 6 studs here standing soon. So I guess that makes the numbers go up a little, but I gotta make sure that there's not too many down there, because it gets too much like work and not fun no more.
Absolutely. And we'll get a little bit off topic for the next couple of questions before we get some viewer questions in. But you've had, a few different types of cars over the years. Tell us about your most recent purchase.
Yeah, the most recent purchase is the Lambo. I got the Lambo SUV. It's 650 horsepower, and it's pretty cool. It can fly for an SUV. Just before that, I did have that Austin Martin. I love that car. There's nothing more fun than that car, but it was a lemon. It kept breaking down. It spent more time in the shop than it did on the road. It seemed like it broke down, spent more time on the back of a tow truck, I think, than I got to drive it. But so I decided I wasn't meant for a sports car, because I maybe beat it up more than I should have, and so I got this SUV Lambo, and it's pretty cool. It's a sweet ride, and thank you, Betting Line, for buying me that.
And you'd like to collect a lot of memorabilia, and definitely into sports memorabilia, things like that. So other than your husband, what is your most prized possession?
Yeah, we got all kinds of different memorabilia. Can't say the word very good down here, but I must say probably contract. If you ever look up Pawn Stars and you Google Wayne Gretzky contract on Pawn Stars, I actually have it here, and I've got it all framed up and autographed, and it's the original Wayne Gretzky contract with the New York Rangers, and it's pretty cool. We seen it on the episode and got it bought, and it actually was Adriano Sorello. I was training for him at the time that got the deal done for me, and we got it all framed up, and it's pretty cool. But yeah, we got a lot of signed stuff down here, but that's probably the most cool thing.
Very, very cool. I have been to that pawn shop when I was in Vegas. It's very much different in person than on the TV show. It's much smaller, but it's very cool to go through anyways.
Yeah, it is. Every time we go to Vegas, pretty much make a stop in there.
Yeah. So let's get to some of our viewer questions, sponsored by Blue Chip Farms and Winback Farm of Ontario. So the first one comes from Charles Foster, and he says, you've purchased so many great yearlings, but can you tell me about 1 or 2 that got away? So you had talked earlier about Captain Treacherous. Was there another one that maybe got away from you in the sales ring?
Well, yeah, I'd say definitely Captain Treacherous, and that wasn't so much missing a bid, like not bidding enough. It was because the vet out, and it was Jeffrey Schneider that was willing to bid on him for me, and he did sell for $250. But Jeff usually plays pretty big when he likes a horse, so I kind of think that's one of the reasons I'm not training for him more. I said no to Captain Treacherous from the vet out, but who knows? But I'm just trying to think of anybody else that got away. What I'm watching over at Tony's barn this year, he might have a whole handful of them there. He's got some really nice betting line colts that definitely got away. And listening to Ronnie Burke's interview last week, it sounds like he really likes his betting line colt, that we are the underbidder. I've never been the underbidder. Like, I'm not one that usually bids big money. And this year I just decided with betting line, I said, we're swinging for the fences, and I believe in this colt, and we're giving him a go. And I was the underbidder on so many big ticket horses. It was just amazing, like 230 and 200 for those 2 colts. And Tony's got one over there. His name's Keystone something. He was number like 809 or something like that in the sale. And I'm like, I'm going to steal this colt. I'm going to get him for like 30 or 40 or 50. And anyways, I think it was maybe like 150 range or something. And Myron was still hollering out the bids and bidding me up. And I'm like, what is going on? And I just didn't think that colt had the kind of pedigree Myron was looking for. And I was kind of shocked that's who I was bidding against. And I think it was 150 range, and I finally surrendered, and Tony got him. And watching him train at the farm, he looks pretty fantastic. So it's kind of it's a shot in the gut, thinking, oh man, I missed him. I should have went more. But then I'm like, well, it's a betting line, so I'll be upset if I don't win the race. But if it's a betting line winning, I'll be pretty happy too. So I got a funny feeling there's a few this year that got away from me just from watching them train, I think.
Yeah, do you guys talk when you're down in Florida? You're all at the same stable. You watch each other's train, especially when you have the same sire. Do you talk about how they're going with each other and kind of differences or similarities?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I'm out on my deck all day. For betting lines, Tony has 5, I believe, and there's a really nice filly over at Jeff Webster's barn. He's got a filly that's a betting line it's a Fox Valley Shaker's baby, which is Pretty Catherine's sister, and I had Pretty Catherine, and that filly's just fantastic. And I pretty much every couple weeks I'll shoot a text to Tony and ask him how those betting lines went, and I actually just was texting him a couple hours ago wanting to know they look good this morning. I want to know what his take was, and sounds like they're pretty impressive. So I like what I see. And he's pretty stacked with all kinds of colts, let alone the betting lines. But I'm cheering for the betting lines, obviously.
Let's move on to our next question from one of our viewers, David Phillips. And he asks, what is a dam sire of your 5 best betting lines at this early stage? So your favorite dams that connected with betting line.
You know what? Like, right off the top of my head, I can't even really remember which ones were which dams. I do remember when I was buying betting lines or before the sale started, I text Dr. J, who there's nobody more honest and does a better job at telling you who's who on her babies and the best crosses. And I remember asking her, I said, what's my best crosses do you think for betting lines? And obviously nobody knows yet because they haven't raced. So you find that out as they get racing more and look at the stats. But she told me some beach, somewhere mares, some beaches, I think it was Dragon Again's, American Ideals. So the ones that were on her list, I pretty much tried my best to stick to those. Saying that, when I'm looking at babies, I'm just looking for a great-looking individual. Like, obviously, and being a betting line and just a great-looking individual for pedigree matches, too, home run, great. But they get more expensive when the pedigree matches the body and the individual. But I think the majority of them are probably some beach somewhere mares. So that seems to be the best cross right now, because I'm pretty sure off the top of my head that most of those top ones are beach mares.
Okay, and Jeff Gantine writes in today, when you're training 2-year-olds, there's a wide array of training programs used by different trainers. Some are very intensive, others much less so. What does your typical week look like for your 2-year-olds?
Yeah, everybody does things different. Like right now, there's people all over the world. There's some people probably in 2-minute range, and there's some people in 2:30 range. And we're all going to be at the qualifiers in the middle of June. Like, I'm not sure how it all happens, and everybody has their own way. Everything works. Somebody's system works for them. So whatever works for you, it works. But yeah, right now, let's say I'm trying to think what was the end of that question again? Like, just different everybody.
Yeah, a typical week for your 2-year-olds at this point of the year.
Okay, so a typical week right now, I train half and half on Tuesday and Friday, and then Wednesday and Saturday. So say it's a Wednesday and Saturday horse. So it'll jog 4 miles on Monday. Tuesday jog 4 miles. Wednesday train 2 trips, usually like 240, a mile and a half first trip, and then last trip on a Wednesday would be a little bit slower, maybe like 220, 225. Jog Thursday and Friday 4 miles again each day. Might put them on the sand track one time. I've been starting that a little bit lately. And then Saturday would be their faster mile, again probably 240, mile and a half first trip, and then last trip I go 2 seconds faster kind of each training set. So we went 212 today with everything, so they'll go 210. They're actually going to go 210 on Wednesday, and I might put them in the race bikes for like 207, 208 on next Saturday. So all depending how they do. As long as they're advancing well, I drop 2 seconds every time I train them. And if they show me they're tired or not doing it right, well, then we back up. We might give them a week off. We might train slow a couple times. Each horse you got to manage individually and do as they need. But right now, all my horses are in the same speed and doing it well right now. So.
Well, thank you so much for all of the information about your horses and some personal information about cars and Pawn Stars and all kinds of things that are happening in your life down in Florida. As a reminder for everyone, we have another HRU virtual Twos in Training coming up with Tony Alanya on Monday at 7 p.m., followed by Thursday at 7 p.m. with Noel Daly. So tune in next week for 2 shows with Tony Alanya and Noel Daly, and make sure you're checking out the new edition of HRU on Sunday morning. We have Alan Levette on why racing will never have a commissioner, Garnet Barnsdale on how handicappers are preparing for racing's return, Jane Platts on how Indiana will reopen racing, and Murray Brown profiles owner Brad Grant. So Casie, thank you for joining us here this evening on Twos in Training, and we look forward to seeing all of your horses this summer. And
Yeah, thanks for having me. Been a good time.
Comprehensive and trusted news source and the fastest growing publication in the game. HRU has you covered with award-winning features and commentary from some of the sport's best writers. Stellar photography, race news, results, entries, handicapping, and video replays. The industry's most comprehensive sales results and harness racing's best reader feedback section. And it's all delivered free of charge to your email box multiple times each week. See why HRU is the most trusted news source of the sport's most important people from all facets of the industry. Subscribe today for free. To subscribe, just go to harnessracingupdate.com and then click subscribe for free.